Good afternoon. Welcome back to Knighthawks media availability as the Knighthawks get ready to finish their home series against the Las Vegas Desert Dogs. 7 p.m. start on March 21st at the Blue Cross Arena Saturday night. As we get ready today, we've got interim head coach Randy Mearns and the newest forward to the Knighthawks, Blaze Riorden, as we get ready for this game. Mearnsy, we'll start with you. Just how did it feel to kind of get your feet wet? Obviously not the result you want, but how does it feel being in a second week now here with a little bit more under you?
Yeah, it's an incredible experience. One it was, just having the ability to get to know the players and kind of, and again, not the result that we wanted, but having that first time experience of being on the bench, working with Kyle Clay and Matty Delela, and obviously the offense and defensive units. You realize like how fast this game is. You see it from afar, but like it was fast. So for me, it was a great learning experience. Great to learn our players, and so it's the first time shared experience. It wasn't what we were looking for, but we went through it, and now it's been a great week of conversations and how we're going to continue to improve in all facets, defensive wise, transition, reverse transition, offensively, and so now it's just trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. As we get ready, again to host Las Vegas, and I feel maybe the silver linings, we get to play the same team twice. So at times you get to kind of know their structures, what they do offensively. You get to play against their players, so it's not a surprise or an unknown, and I feel that that'll allow us to prepare for Saturday.
To follow up preparing for Saturday a little bit, I mean, it totally makes sense, but you get this Friday practice, which isn't, the normal rhythm of a week for this team usually. Just how are you looking to take advantage of having a practice the night before a game?
Yeah, I feel like our goalies got to shoot. I feel like our shooters got to, excuse me, our goalies got to get in the net and they got to take some shots. I feel like our shooters got to shoot. As we kind of go through the week, where can they get reps and reps and reps. I feel it'll be much more situational. Maybe I feel like we can clean a variety of things up. In all facets of the game. It's from the result, it's not one guy. It's just a little thing here and a little thing there and a little thing here, and just the culmination of it, just leads to not being successful. So, we'll evolve the offense a little bit. Talk with Coach Calais and looking at some different things that we could potentially do. Obviously, we'll be much more attuned defensive wise and defensive structure now playing Vegas and their offensive personnel. We're going to really try to dial that in and be prepared as much as we can to be back at home in Rochester.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask you how much are you looking forward to being able to be on that home bench at the Blue Cross Arena?
Oh yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped. It's a home away from home for me. I've been able to maybe broadcast a few games way back in the day, but God, like it just the locker room to kind of be back. Actually the relationships with a lot of people in Rochester that have kind of reached out. I mean, such a great sports town, and to just be there and feel the energy again. I'm super excited, and like I say, it's going to be home.
Definitely. Blaze, for you, before I get to that question, which I'll let you, mentally prepare for a little bit. I mean, fitting into this offense in the third quarter, it really showed with those two drives right to the inside. You and Fieldsy working together on that first one, the second one, kind of seeing your lane and just taking it to the rack. What are you excited about with playing with this offense, and how do you feel you really mesh in with this group?
Yeah, it was definitely obviously first time going live against a different jersey, and after watching the film and talking with a lot of the guys, I felt very comfortable. There's a ton of talent on our side of the floor, and it makes guys' jobs easier that know their role and know how to play them. And I just think with all the threats, there's so much ball pressure, and we're able to spread defenses out where lanes and cutting lanes and passing lanes are a little more open than what I'm accustomed to, and that's really kind of how I've thrived throughout my career, is finding those lanes. So it's been a great start, and obviously, a group that has high expectations. When you look what we have on paper, there's an expectation to score, and I think we generated a lot of shots last game, and we're just going to look to, instead of generating a lot of shots, we're going to look to generate a lot of great shots, and that should help push our end towards a higher number at the end of the 60 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, you've been a locker roommate of Fieldsy in college at one point. Now you get to play the same position as him and be right next to each other on the floor. Just what's I guess what's different about, obviously 10 years change, but also what's different about being in that same position group now?
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I'm actually rekindling a lot of old relationships and past teammates. I got to play with Zed growing up, in the Nike All American and the Brian All American games growing up and all that stuff, and playing with Tutsi and Lordy and playing with Jeremy Thompson for the Chaos, and Ryan Smith winning a championship with him with the Chaos. Like, going into this room, there was a lot of reconnections, and part of the what makes this sport so special in any sport, but specifically lacrosse, is it's just the bonds that you build. So, as I get, I've been in 10 years playing professional lacrosse. Like, it's exciting to see these guys again this weekend and during the weekends. And, what I think brings us all together and what makes our friendships, feel like they haven't diminished at all is just the competitive nature we all share. We're all competitors. We all want to win. And, to be in an environment like that, with a lot of pressure and, quite frankly, our backs against the wall a little bit, is exciting times.
Yeah, definitely. I love that that's the mindset for it. Last thing for you from me before I pass it on. Has it hit you yet that in 2 days you're going to be playing for the home team at Blue Cross Arena? Do you think it's one of those things that in the last couple of years of your career, have you thought about this being a possibility even? And now it's kind of coming to fruition. Just what is that like for your mindset? I know you've talked about it being this team gave you that dream. Just what is it like now and 10 years deep into it?
Yeah, like a lot of dreams, they never fade away. And, my dream to be a professional lacrosse player started with my love for going to Rochester Knighthawks games and playing the game. And, when I grabbed my jersey in Vegas and took a look at the front and took a look at the back, it gave me butterflies. I take a lot of pride in being from Rochester, and, this is a homecoming for me as well. After college, I went up to the Akwesasne Native American Reservation where I lived for 3 years to learn how to play this game. And, I've been in Philly since. So to get back in front of friends and family and be in an arena that, I know where every Dippin' Dot stand is and where the best Red Osier sandwich was, and, the bathroom that was closest to my seats, there's a comfortability in being a part of, something that is you're so accustomed to. And I just, couldn't be more grateful and more excited, on top of the nodulistic aspect. Like, I remember being a part of watching these teams go on championship runs and going into the playoffs and seeing what it did to the city of Rochester, and, how the energy in the building would just be ignited. And really that's what, wakes me up and, makes this dream, even more special, is that, we're in the fire of that. And, we don't have fire extinguishers. Our only way out is to push through it. And, that's ultimately one of the best feelings you can have as an athlete.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. Spencer, I'll pass it off to you first.
Hey, Coach, how are you today?
Spencer, good man. How are you? How are you keeping?
Hanging in there. On Sunday we saw both goaltenders. Has there been a decision made on who's starting on Sunday or Saturday?
There has not. There has not. We'll get to shoot around tomorrow, obviously on Saturday, and make that determination.
And then I'm gonna go off what Chamberlain said. You'll be back at the Blue Cross Arena on Saturday for the first time as the head coach. How important and just overall, how big is this game to get a win as your first home game at the Blue Cross Arena, leading the new Nighthawks?
Yeah, I mean it'll be something super special. I mean, but we need to perform, in all facets of the game, and we have the talent, we have the players, we have the team camaraderie, the culture to get that done, and if we're able to, execute efficiently and effectively, and if we're able to, defend well and together, and have our own transition, opportunities and offense. Again, we generated, as Blaze said, like a lot of good quality shots. Maybe we got to get, great quality shots as well within that. But we had opportunities, and unfortunately, we just didn't sink them. So, if we're able to do that and get all the way through it and come out with a W, that would be super special. That'd be something that you just think about and you kind of dream about. But there's a lot of things that we got to take care of before that happens. And so, for me, I just kind of feel like we just got to continue to worry about those little things, continue to build, through the next couple of days, and be prepared to the best of our ability against Vegas. And again, if we're able to hit all those different, fundamentals and things within a game, and have success and build on momentum, there's no reason why we can't come out with a W. And if that happens, that's going to be super special.
And then one for Blaze. Obviously, right now you're living every Section 5 lacrosse player's dream right now. What was that phone call like with Dan Carey when you heard that you were heading back home?
Yeah, there's so much going on in my life right now, and they're all amazing things. My wife and I are expecting our first child in 6 weeks, and we're moving back to upstate New York, and we're selling a house, and I had a business here, and I got that call, and I couldn't sit down for the next 5 hours. Like I was told that I was supposed to keep it secret, and I'm calling my dad, hinting to him to, hey, buy some tickets for the next home game for the Knighthawks. I just couldn't, my emotions, I couldn't keep in check. It was, as you said, every Section 5 kid's dream, and just for where my family's at in our life, getting to come back and, be a part of, fully dive in back into the Rochester lacrosse community, and, to play in front of friends and family, and, ultimately join a team that is in the hunt and is fighting for our lives, with all the talent we need to be successful, is living the dream. And there's been a lot of hard work that has led up to that. But, most importantly, it's, getting an opportunity is one thing, and taking an opportunity and dominating it is another. And, at this point, that's my only option, and that's really what I'm focused on.
And as you mentioned, you went to Nighthawks games for 11 straight years. Do you have like a favorite memory or a favorite game in mind?
There was a bunch of them. Well, one that's always stuck out to me was another Fairport, New York legend, Tim Sudan, who was one of my dad's best friends growing up. He was also my physical education teacher in 9th grade. Towards the tail end of his career, I remember always going to the games and going in the locker room and seeing John Grant Jr. and, young Sean Evans and, Pat O'Toole and Chris Schiller and all these guys. And like, I would show up to school and be like, I don't know if a lot of these kids realize who our PE teacher really is. To me, like, he was like a superhero. And I just remember that it was towards the end of his career, so we were all old enough to realize he was a teacher in our program. And he got butt-ended by Johnny Christmas during the game, and he retaliated with some fisticuffs. And it was the school days. It was the town school days to go to the games. And then I remember everyone in the hallways talking about, Tim Sudan and his cut that he had under his eye in school, and everyone knowing where it was coming from. And I don't know, for some reason that memory always sticks out to me. But the championships were always the best. Driving around through the St. Patty's Day parade and seeing Reggie Thorpe and Pat O'Toole and all those guys on the side of the Honda vehicles, and going to the post-game parties after the games, and Pat O'Toole riding around in the back of my dad's trunk, and Chris Schiller and his speed. There's so many memories, and If you ask my dad, he would tell you that it was hard to get me up from my seat. And I was there an hour before every warm up. I couldn't get up to go to the bathroom to be bothered to do anything. I didn't want to go try to catch a lacrosse ball. I just wanted to watch everything that was happening and, notice the nuances of the National Lacrosse League, like John Grant Jr. wearing a pair of number 23 shorts one night, maybe because his shorts were lost. And I'm asking my dad these questions, and they're just all such amazing memories that I forever carry.
I lied. I got one more for Coach Mearns. Hearing these stories, how much does it fire you up to try to win a championship for the city?
Oh yeah, I mean it's great stories because you have all these memories. I mean, from from the games, the wins, the losses. In my time there and hearing Blaze talk about Timmy Sudan and Reggie and just legends, guys that had great guys that just wanted to win. While he was talking, I was getting a little fired up. A lot of energy on my way, and it's got such a storied history to the Rochester Knighthawks, and we want to continue to build upon that, as Blaze alluded to. Like, we're the backs are a little bit against the wall, right? But we have this opportunity. We have life. I said to a number of guys, I asked them this question as we were going through the week. I'm like, hey, guess what happened on Tuesday? And they're kind of like, what? And I'm like, hey, like the sun came up, the world's still going around. Yeah, we got beat, but you know what? We got things that we can continue to go do about it. And maybe some of this Rochester lore and being back at the Blue Cross, maybe that's the right time for this thing to happen. And couldn't be more excited.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks, Spencer. Brendan, anything from you?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Coach, you mentioned, being on the bench for that first time, and you played in this league. You've been a broadcaster in this league. When you were coaching last weekend, was there anything that during the game you thought, oh, this feels like a little bit different than what I thought it would?
Yeah, I don't know if it was different. It was just, you get going and there's the energy and the game starts and you got the music pumping and all the other stuff that kind of goes with it. And then boom, it's game time. And just the, again, just the flow of the game, like it's just up and down and fast. And you realize, and I've always known this, like just the capability, the athleticism, the skill work, the stick work of the National Lacrosse League players, but to now like be actually on the bench and coaching it and witnessing it, as opposed to maybe being up top, like it was a pretty quick eye-opening experience. Now, for me, like I said to the guys, as we've kind of gone on this journey through a lot of, let's just say, rough waters, I feel like, we're coming to where now the waters are starting to calm as we're preparing for this next game. But it was eye-opening. But like I said, hey, I'm a quick study. It was kind of good to be back at it. I kind of had this thought process coming back, from Las Vegas of like, God, was it that fast when we played, to the bench and back to the bench and, the O&D. And, I don't think that it was, to be honest with you. I think that the guys that are in the league now are bigger, better, faster. It's offense, defense, where we were maybe more up, back, and off back in the day. So it was an incredible experience. And so I took that all in. And now that I have that experience, I feel like my feet are more on the ground to lead this team, into battle on Saturday.
Because this is interesting on the broadcast, they made mention of this, and I was interested to get your take on this. Is they're saying like, as a new coach, it was right before you made your challenge. They're like, how does a new coach know everything that they need to know? Like, how do you where do you get the challenge flag from? And like, who travels with it? And then second part of that question is, can you walk us through the process of actually making your first challenge a play? Like, how did that all shake out?
Yeah. Okay. Challenge flag. So I reached out to Brian Lemon. I reached out to Danny Carey, and I know Danny reached out to the NLO, because I'm like, do I make my own? Do I go to Walmart, get a red handkerchief, put some rocks in? And they're like, no, we'll have one for you in Las Vegas. You'll get it from the crew chief. To answer your second part of that, I have it. It's traveled. Boom. Obviously, I put it in my bag. You don't want to lose that once you get one. I'm sure that they're not thinking about replacing it. And then going through that experience, right? If you make a challenge and if you don't get it right, you lose the timeout. So there's always, there's some necessity to it. On that particular play, we kind of felt like Lancher got, kind of across. We kind of felt like it was a good goal. But but when you get to the video now, there's like 5 or 6 different viewpoints. You can kind of look at it. You got to throw it within 30 seconds. It was a little bit of a scramble as we're still kind of evolving, as a group, and so I leaned on Matty. He's like looking at the video and we're like, you know what? It's pretty close. Hey, we're down. Maybe this changes a little bit of momentum. Let's throw it. Let's see if this is going to go our way. And unfortunately it didn't. So that's the first time learning experience. And, as now we're going into this next game, having that experience will certainly be better at the efficiency and the effectiveness of making challenges.
I love it because they mentioned it on the broadcast. I was like, that's a great question to find out. So appreciate that, Coach. A couple for Blaze. Blaze, obviously everybody knows that you're one of the best outdoor goalies in the world. How did it come that you grew up as a goalie through Fairport High School, Albany? How did you kind of morph into a shooter or a field player in the box game?
Yeah, I think I was lucky during a time where lacrosse wasn't as popular that my dad grew up playing. He was a really skilled player, so he introduced me to the game and ultimately helped coach me from the time I began playing to the time I graduated at Fairport High School when we brought him back my senior year as a volunteer on the staff because he knew so many of the kids. But we didn't really focus on playing position lacrosse when I was growing up. A lot of the skills that you developed were, in my front yard with my brother, my dad, my neighborhood friends that all played. And when it was your turn to play goalie, when it was your turn to play offense, everyone played defense. You like playing defense with no pads in the front yard because you can get your whacks in. It was kind of positionless, but as it got more organized, I injured our goalie in about 4th grade, 3rd grade, and my dad was the coach, and there was only one goalie. We got the township pads, and he gave me hey, you did the crime, you're doing the time, and I hopped in there, and I was pretty naturally good at it. I still loved to score, and just really my dad never put pressure on me to do anything that I didn't want to through the game of lacrosse. He taught me to clean up after myself on the sideline, to leave things better than you found it, and to play the game the right way. And that was hard with sportsmanship and with toughness. And just throughout my career, I just played so much lacrosse that I would find times where maybe on our summer travel team, there'd be 2 goalies on the team. So I'd play the first half goalie. Well, instead of sitting around the second half, I would, go and grab a short stick and play some attack because I just loved the game. And Coach Marr saw me at a Syracuse shootout my junior year, and I was playing attack, and he was interested in me. It was about a month before you had to sign your national letter of intent. And I mentioned, I'm like, hey, I think I'm primarily a goalie, like everyone that's recruited me, Coach Tillman at Maryland and, Syracuse and all these schools, they're recruiting me as a goalie. I should play goalie. He's like, all right, well, come play goalie, but you'll get to play man up too. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. So my freshman year, I started in the goal, and when the flag would go down, I'd sprint to the sideline, grab little elbow pads, grab someone's stick off the sideline, and I'd be the shooter on man up. And, just through always wanting to shoot around with the guys after the games and in between practices and all that, I was lucky that we had a lot of Native American roots on our Albany team in the Thompson trio, Lyle, Miles, and Ty Thompson. And I grew close to Ty, and he invited me my freshman year summer to go try out for the Akwesasne Junior B box lacrosse team, where I got my real first experience of box lacrosse. Loved it, played for 3 years, ended up getting an opportunity to play on the 2015 USA men's national team as the only collegiate player. And I think that experience really skyrocketed, what I pictured this would look like in my head, just being around guys like Casey Powell and Chris O'Doherty and Brett Manny and all these legends. Like, I learned so much about maturity. And I also, when you're playing against Team Canada, that's all NLL, and the Haudenosaunee team, and, you're competing on the same floor, and you realize that you can fit in, that confidence is a dangerous thing. And, it led to a bumpy way to get into the NLL of not getting drafted and going to an open tryout and finding my way into games my rookie year, to then being cut, to then being put on a team through an expansion, draft. And here I am. So just the journey of lacrosse, and two things never wavered: my love for it, and, my ability of skills that I developed when I was really young, of being able to pick up any type of lacrosse stick and use it and know how to play the game.
Awesome. I love it. Last question for me. Reggie Thorpe is your father-in-law. He's obviously one of the all-time great Knighthawks National Lacrosse League players. How much of a mentor has he been to you, and how much have you learned about the indoor game from him?
Yeah, I've been really lucky. Getting to play for Reggie. I played with his son, Gale, on Team USA. I've also played with him for the Akwesasne Indians and Junior B. And, then to meeting my amazing wife, he's been there along the entire way. And Reggie's someone that doesn't have to say a lot. If you're just around him, you can kind of, understand the type of person he is. He's genuine, he's honest, but he's hardworking and blue collar, and keeps his head down and doesn't like to talk about himself. And, with this opportunity that I have, there's obviously a lot of buzz behind it, and just really following his lead of understanding, what's truly important when it comes to winning and being successful. And, I've seen his ring box, and, everyone has a different story and a different memory that still carries them through this day. And really that's what you fight for. And that's, beyond getting to live a dream, like that's what wakes you up and motivates you to want to be great, or to create those memories that last a lifetime, and to do it in a city where I was raised and got to see it firsthand as a little kid, to now becoming a father and being an adult and being a veteran in this league, is all stuff that I know makes him proud. But, I'm just hoping to represent this organization and, the legacy of everyone that's gone before me in the right light.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Blaze.
Yep.
I'm all set, Chamberlain.
Thank you very much, Brendan. Anything else from anyone before we wrap it up? All right. That's going to do it for our Knighthawks media availability today. Thanks for everyone for being here. Be sure to tune in 7 p.m. Eastern time, as the Knighthawks will host the Las Vegas Desert Dogs on Saturday, March 21st. We'll see you then.